What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Letterland. I'm Tyler, your Chief Newsletter Officer, and as always, I am joined by that newsletter guy, Louis Nichols. Louis, how's it going today?
Good. I'm excited for this. We got a great episode. I'm excited for the guest.
Yeah, we have a huge guest today. It's going to be really exciting to talk to Taylor Craig. My mom told me never to trust someone with two first names, but this guy is great. He's going to talk to us all about live shows. Plus, we have some other news we're going to get into. We have AI blacklists are happening apparently among newsletter advertisers, and we're going to talk about KPIs. So we have a lot to get into. But first, I want to talk about today's presenting sponsor. Louis, I think you might know a thing or two about these guys. They are called Sparkloop. Do any of these names sound familiar to you, Louis? Phil at Paved, Banks at Future Forest, Michael at Drip, and Nick at Beehive, because they are all new subscribers to our Letterland Live newsletter called the Letterland Brief over the past few days, and they were all automatically flagged by Sparkloop's new sponsorship opportunities feature as being a great fit potential for sponsors for our newsletter. So if you run a newsletter, your best next sponsor is probably already subscribed to your newsletter. You just need to find them. And Sparkloop wants to surface them for you and basically make you a ton of money. And they're going to do it totally for free. You can check it out right now at sparkloop.app. So what are you waiting for? Well, you should watch the rest of this, and then you should go to sparkloop.app later on today.
Or do it now. It's fine. Do it now. Do it at the same time. Do it twice.
All right, let's get into it. Louis, sponsors are quietly blacklisting AI newsletters according to Reddit.
Wow. Hang on. So I need some clarification on this because I saw this and I didn't read the article, but I don't get it. Like I have a second thought, right? Are they blacklisting newsletters that are written with AI, or are they blacklisting newsletters that are about AI? Because there are a bunch of both right now.
Yes. So the problem in this particular subreddit or this Reddit forum is the newsletters that are written by AI. I imagine there are probably also a lot of newsletters that are written by AI about AI. But basically an ad buyer on Reddit says that a client quote unquote mauled her for including an AI heavy newsletter in a sponsorship list, which sounds like an excessive amount of violence over newsletter sponsorship. But the buyer says that sponsors are now vetting for AI content ratios before booking campaigns, which brings up a lot of really interesting points. Like, do sponsors actually care about, how this content is written, or do they care about results? Does this mean pricing is going to diverge between AI and non-AI newsletters? And I think the biggest thing for me right now, I'm curious where you stand on this, is are you under an obligation to tell advertisers and I guess readers too that you are using AI to write your newsletter? Where do you stand on that?
Oh, I don't think so. I'm kind of a fan of AI, and the way that I use AI to write my newsletter, and I know a bunch of other really, really good newsletter operators do as well, is they will create the content themselves and then they will have AI edit it. And at that point, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even 60% of the words are technically written by AI. But what I wrote, like all of the ideas are human generated, and it's based on a human article, and a lot of it is human. And like, does that qualify as then being AI generated? Because like a machine, I'm guessing, would say yes, it is written by AI, but it's very different to, I think, the kind of thing that people want to avoid, which is, here are 5 links, you give it to AI writes the entire thing, and a human's never even maybe even edited it, never mind sort of given the initial input to the idea, right? So I think that's the confusion for me, and where this whole sort of like concern doesn't even really make sense, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's not so different than if you brought somebody in, if you had another writer or a ghostwriter or
Yeah.
something. Like I don't think you're under any obligation to tell. I mean, there's lots of great newsletters that are written by ghostwriters. So a lot of famous people, believe it or not, are not writing their newsletters. So I don't know that you're under any obligation to tell them or tell advertisers. I guess the the real thing it comes down to for me is like, is it working, right? Are people reading the content? Are they opening it? Are they clicking on ads? Are they buying stuff? Like that's really what matters at the end of the day.
I guess it's also like, when you're running a sponsorship, what are you paying for it? I know we're going to get into this a little bit later towards the end of the show, but are you running an ad, like a performance-based thing where you care about the results you drive? Or are you doing this because you think that the context of the creator who's writing the newsletter is actually what you care about, is being seen as sort of being contextually relevant and sort of approved by that creator? And then in that case, you might be looking at the AI written stuff as a proxy for, oh, this isn't written by someone who has a really strong affinity with their audience. It's one of these tens of thousands of newsletters that are spun up. Kind of like you have like faceless YouTube channels and faceless Instagram accounts.
Right.
Is this like faceless newsletters essentially, right? That's completely AI generated, and yeah, they get opens and clicks, but do people care? And I kind of have some bad news. So we put this into the Letterland Brief, right? Yesterday, which if you're not subscribed yet, you should be. Tyler, people can go to letterland.live, I think, and get that. We do a really good job
Yep.
of having human assisted writing there, I think, right?
Human assisted. Yeah.
Little
You're looking at the
exciting.
human in the loop.
And I'm the assist apparently. And then yeah, so I think we put that in the brief yesterday, and Wendy from Paved replied, and they've done a bunch of research into this and wrote a really cool blog post on it, where they basically asked their readers and people who read popular newsletters whether, like, basically they gave them two options. They showed them an excerpt from a popular newsletter written by a human, and they showed them an AI generated version of a very similar thing, and they asked which one they preferred. And what is crazy to me is that in a lot of cases, it was basically a 50-50 split. Something like on average, 54% of readers preferred the human content. But that still means that almost half of people actively preferred the non-human AI written content. So at that point, like, is this really even something advertisers should care about? I don't know.
God, this is as a content person at heart, this is, this sort of argument kind of kills me. But I think this is going to be a big issue going forward, and I think it's going to be kind of top of mind for a lot of newsletter creators. And I think you're already seeing it play out in places like Twitter, where people are calling out when people write like the Twitter not threads, but like what do they call them?
The
Like the actual
posts,
no, like the actual like long art, I guess Twitter articles, right? So
yeah,
like when people are doing those, right? Like Chamath did one the other day, and everyone ran it through, an AI detector. So I don't think we're quite at that point yet in the newsletter world, but it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be, I think it may play out a lot like kind of the brand safety issue that that we saw with social media. It's like, do advertisers want to be associated with AI or not?
yeah,
Going forward. Cool.
yeah. It's super interesting.
I want to get to the next story. So it isn't exactly surprising, right, that HubSpot is super successful as a tech company, also super successful as a media company. But Louis, do you realize just how big they are as a quote unquote media company?
I don't have a great idea of the scale. I know on the newsletter side, they're pretty big because I know the numbers of all the newsletters they've acquired, and so I can add them up in my head, and get to a number. But like, they have a bunch of like YouTube channels, podcasts, stuff like that. So I have absolutely no idea how big they are on that front.
Yeah, so Dave Gerhardt from Exit 5 just interviewed HubSpot's VP of Content, Jonathan Hunt, and these numbers are staggering. I knew it was big, right? But like they're competing with some of the biggest media companies out there, and they're doing it so well, right? So 70 people in their group, in the content group, 17 YouTube channels. I don't know. They didn't share how many newsletters, but at least a handful, right? There's like, The Hustle. What's the one they just bought? I'm blanking on it.
Oh, start a story.
Yes, yes. And apparently they are reaching 50 million people per month. This is just huge. I think it's super impressive, but it's a really great listen if you haven't. Dave Gerhardt is awesome. He's kind of a B2B legend with Exit 5. And then HubSpot's VP of Media, Jonathan Hunt, is great. But one of the things that stood out to me the most was that Jonathan basically said that PDFs as lead magnets are dead. And I'm curious
Oh.
because you see a lot of conversion, Louis, newsletter conversion, turning people into leads. Do you agree with this? And what are the best kind of lead magnets right now?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think there will always be a place for a PDF lead magnet. I can imagine that the
A
kind
special
of
place
audience
in your heart for
in
PDFs.
my heart, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I think like we don't all move at the same speed, and HubSpot's sort of like their target customer that they are going after, who works in a tech company and is a marketer, probably. Moves relatively quickly. So, a PDF may still work amazingly well for, let's say, if you are in the personal investing and finance space and you're targeting 70-plus-year-olds on Facebook, right? Like
Yeah.
that may work super well still there. But I think he's right? Like we see that the bar has been raised, as it has in so much other stuff, by AI, because the barrier to entry in creating something that's more useful has been raised. And when you were away, Tyler, Matt McGarry came on and he was talking about, like, being quite candid, that a lot of the original sort of like uh, what's the word, like education business that he had been building up and that he's seeing other creators building up, where you're just selling info products, they're kind of being destroyed by the fact that AI can, or people perceive AI being able to give you the same thing. And people have now moved on to wanting more than just, give me the content. I don't want to have to
Mhm.
read the content. Give me the results, or help me do it, or give me something that is going to move the needle and get me to where I want to be. Don't just give me the sort of the content and make me figure it out for myself. And I think that's pretty similar in lead magnets now. We've gone from PDFs to calculators to free tools to I think you can still get libraries of content and stuff like that can still work really well. But yeah, I think the humble PDF white paper download is not long for this world. Yeah.
I kind of disagree. I actually think
Right.
maybe it's because the world I live in is more of like B2B finance world, but
Mhm.
I think nothing beats, and I think, maybe we could ask a Matt Paulson, right? Somebody. I think it's hard to be a PDF or just a web page that's, kind of a private web page that lists, 7 AI stocks that are going to pop this year, right? Like something super simple. You're giving people the answers and not more work. I think it still does work. And some of the best content that I'm helping folks with is, in the B2B world. Like some of these people literally just want to have this stuff and be able to print it out. And I think you talked about, a little bit more about age and like what level you're in. But if you're living in a world where you're not as tech savvy, I think something like having being able to print out a PDF or something is like still very real in a lot of industries. So I don't think it's completely dead. I think it speaks a lot to where HubSpot is, to your point. Like they are just light years ahead of everyone. Like almost nobody else is doing this, which is, incredible. Not only are they a great tech company, but they built like this incredible media company inside of it, which I think, brings up the next point is how the hell do you replicate something like this, right? It's like it's so hard as a like they are a publicly traded company. It's easy. I wouldn't say it's easy for them to do it. They have the resources to do it. But how do you actually do something like this as a, maybe not a solopreneur, but a small company, a newsletter company, you have a YouTube channel. How do you think about something like that, Louis?
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Like we're trying to build it out ourselves. We help people at Sparkloop doing this all the time, mostly more on the growth side, the monetization than the content side. But I think the really interesting thing that we've seen a real rise in interest in, and a lot of sort of a lack of knowledge, has been on the live show side of things, right? Especially with the TBPN acquisition by OpenAI, that has just shot up in popularity, and so many people
Which
are
for
sort
the
of.
record, we had the idea for Letterland Live before the TBPN sale. Okay, so we aren't just chasing the bag from from OpenAI, but Sam, call
we,
me.
we were very smart and had the idea when they were super successful and everywhere on Twitter and LinkedIn, not when they sold out. So we were way early on that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is a really difficult thing, right? Like people don't know the playbook for this yet necessarily. They haven't been, there aren't a huge ton of people out there who are doing this really, really well, where you can just sort of copy exactly what they're doing. But one of the few people who is out there who's caught onto this a lot earlier than we did and has been helping some of the most successful live show operators and creators behind the scenes is our good friend Taylor Craig, who is actually one of the guys behind our live show and a bunch of other more successful ones at Launch Live now. And I think he's going to join us and we're going to get him to share some of his answers about how the hell people should go about doing this.
How's it going, boys?
What's up, Taylor?
Good, Taylor. Glad to have you here. Very cool. Well, I guess maybe if we can just start off with a simple question, which Tyler often confuses the answer to. Sorry to put you on the spot there, Tyler. What's the difference between a live show and a podcast?
Oh man, well, first off, it's great to be here. I think the show looks amazing. I think you gentlemen look amazing. Even if you're a little behind on your usual haircut cycle, Louis. The difference I think between like a video podcast and a live show is interactivity. Everyone and their mother, it seems, has its own video podcast these days, but the ability to go live. There's a reason why we have a business is because it's quite difficult. You have to get all these subscriptions, you have to get all these things to be able to go live, but we're just trying to enable people to do it, to not be afraid to have that interactivity, bring in live comments, and also just let a conversation roll. It takes a lot of confidence for especially you guys to get on this show, to be able to do it all live, and not worry about edits and the turnaround time it takes, and just go live on. We are right now simulcasting on LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. This will be up as a podcast within 30 minutes after the show wraps. So I think you guys are way ahead of the curve, and I think there's about to be this massive wave of all these video podcasts. The ones that are brave enough are going to start converting into live shows, and that's what we're trying to be here for.
Nice. Sorry, Tyler, I thought you were going to ask me that. Okay, well, now we have the perfect example of what not to do on a live show and how this can go wrong. Because what I wanted to know next, which I thought Tyler was going to ask, but he's decided not to.
It was a tasteful pause. Tasteful pause.
What Tyler is not to ask is, how can we figure out who should be running a live show like this? Because it's not something that's for everybody. Obviously, there's a lot of work involved. It can go spectacularly wrong, and you can get left with 3 or 4 seconds of awkward silence while the host tries to figure out whether that was like a secret diss saying, "You guys have a lot of confidence to do a live show. If I were you guys to get on camera, that's confident." But seriously, like, who should be doing this?
I would say so I think with the TBPN deal, and you guys were alluding to it a moment ago, I think that gave a lot of validation to the space. And the reason why that was very successful was not just about numbers, it was about a particular niche audience. And this concept of niche casting, those are the people who I think should be having their own live shows. So think about every industry. We have a show we have the car dealership guy. They have a show with us called Daily Dealer Live. We have the Shortcut Live. That's about consumer technology. We have various finance shows that we're hitting. We have a show about newsletters, if you can believe it. So all of these particular niches, I would say those are the people that would be most successful in going live. And because of that, the reason why, or rather, is because these communities are being built in these small niche areas. So if you have this community of newsletter operators that want to learn more, you guys are selling the picks and shovels. This is a great place to be. I think every single industry is going to have its own live stream, and that's what we're trying to be here for.
Who do you think should have one right now that doesn't? This is your sales pitch.
Yeah. I mean, especially among newsletter operators, I will say, I think outside of newsletters, I would say Kalshi should have its own live stream. Like, it should it should have a 8-hour Sports Center stream where it's calling out all of the different markets, mention markets. They're the ability to take a speech live. Say President Trump is giving a speech from the Oval Office, the mention markets. Is he going to say the word Iran? Is he going to say a number of things that he probably shouldn't say? Being able to tap into live events, I think, is a really cool thing. And the prediction markets, whatever you think of them, they're incredibly fascinating. And there is this budding community of people that are betting a lot on it. So as far as just whether it be newsletter operators or not, like, I think there's going to be a lot of prediction markets shows that are coming down the pike. Prediction market trader, I think his name is Joel Holsinger. He's a great streamer, and somebody that I think Kalshi should be like working with to build something like that. Beyond that, I think one of my favorite newsletters is Public. So they are an investing app. So they have a newsletter called The Rundown, which I love. And my experience goes back to CNBC and finance and this whole space of investing. I could see a live stream working well in the app that's tied to their newsletter, which is all about useful investing, not really investing tips, but more news, business news. What did Adobe do in its most recent earnings report? Just so those details that could be hashed out in a short sort of CNBC style show on this investing app. And I mean, you can apply that logic to Robinhood and any other app that people invest in.
Yeah. Is it because, like, for TBPN, right? It feels like a lot of people say it's all about the clips. Is that true for every live show, or like what role strategically is a live show really playing for a media brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think for this show, for example, I think we cut 15 to 20 clips out of 1 hour. And of course, you get the full hour, and that's a lot of value. I think it really depends on the audience. Like, how do they consume media? Are they, I would say, to use one of our examples, our automotive show, Daily Dealer Live, they get a lot of value out of the full live show because people are chiming in with their questions and they want to know certain things about video MPIs, multi-point inspections, and like these really niche topics that are going to be debated. The broker-dealer relationship, that somebody who's sitting on their couch can literally change the course of the show that's sitting in front of them. So there's a lot of value in that live show. Clips are great for discovery. They're great for distribution, for branding purposes. I think you guys understand that really well. That's probably the key difference, I think.
Nice. And where are people like hosting these? Because obviously at Letterland, sorry, we go live on a bunch of different platforms. But like in my head, maybe because I'm old, I always think of live streaming as being like a YouTube or a Twitch kind of thing. What are the platforms that people are streaming on nowadays? What might be really interesting to you is Substack in the last year has rolled out a live video tool that a few of our clients use to great success. The second you go live, all of the followers on your Substack are going to get a notification that the person you're subscribed to is going live in 2 minutes. And then everyone gets that ping. They can click into the live video. They even have a GIF that is playing in that initial video that's showing like kind of the countdown clock rolling, sort of enticing people to click on it. So Substack's a really interesting one. We haven't done a lot with Twitch, which is so funny because that's sort of the origin of where this all came from. But it seems like Twitch just continues serving that gaming audience, which really isn't something that we're interested in. Beyond that, I'm really interested in Instagram lives. I think vertical live streams, the only live streams that you're seeing on Instagram right now are some girl dancing outside of a mall, holding her phone up, or some handheld device, where there is no professional live stream. There's no banners. There's no accompanying video. Say you wanted to roll we're seeing programs like Whatnot pop up with live video shopping. I think there's a bit of professionalism in how that's done, but it can be done to such a higher degree. I'm very bullish on vertical live video in a professional broadcast caliber quality. But
But yeah, I mean, it seems every single platform is taking this very seriously. X just rolled out a new live video or live studio tool that people are now experimenting with. We're starting to implement it. It's coming with a lot of great improvements. Shout out to Tyler Gold and the team over at X and all the product improvements that they've made with their live video tool. I'm also increasingly interested in a TV app for X. And I know that was something that's been kind of put on the back burner, but we're seeing increasing watch times on YouTube. We're seeing just longer videos being consumed. So in our space, that's obviously a very bullish signal and telling us that people want to sit down and pop something on. And every 10 minutes, they don't want to switch to a new YouTube video when they're on their couch. They want to sit back and watch a real professional show.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Like the thing that takes my mind to is obviously a lot of people are coming into this now thinking about a TPPN, for example. We come in, our thesis, like our starting point is essentially similar to TPPN, and we'll develop it and change it over time. But you come from a network TV background where there are a ton of different formats that work for live TV. What kind of formats do you think are going to be killing it on the live show front, and how do you figure out the right format for your live show?
Yeah, and we're kind of falling into the category of a lot of headlines to start, a lot of conversation-driven shows. But I think and that's just a starting point, but I think there's so much room for opportunity, so much room for experimentation. Do we want to do a game show? Do we want to do a dating show? Like all of these different formats that have been tried and true. And obviously there's an audience for them because they've had tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars put behind them on network television. We should be trying them out in a more nimble way on these live mediums like we are. So yeah, I mean, the floodgates are sort of open in that regard. We can start experimenting. We can start trying things. I think the talk show environment does not, where I came from, CNBC and Fox Business, we had 10 people in a control room that were running these shows. At this very moment, like this exact show, you have 2 people that are running this show. We have Lilia, we have Dave, and they are literally just running these switches and being able to communicate with each other in real time. They probably have to communicate just a little quieter just because I'm on the air in the same room as them. But being able to switch between shows and being able to do this with just 2 folks running it is unlocks a lot of opportunities and a lot of experimentation that you can do. There you go. Give it a wave, guys.
So given your background, Taylor, do you think what we're doing, maybe not specifically what we're doing, but do you think, live shows are going to, kind of kill that CNBC, Fox Business, cable TV, show?
I know for a fact that the networks are rethinking a lot of their business models. That's why you're seeing a lot of spinoffs take place and a lot of just critical analysis of the former model. I think there's always going to be a place for network television, and there's always going to be a place. CNBC will always be around. It's a strong enterprise, has incredible brand value, a lot of trust. So there is intrinsic value there. They're even starting to experiment with live streams themselves in a more nimble production. But yeah, I don't know. I think that networks will be definitely shrunk as far as workforce, as far as the amount of live programming they put out. But when new industries start to come out or new ways of doing things start to come out, there does tend to be some consolidation back to the major players. So we're just trying to gather market share before that happens.
Well, something I want to go a little bit selfish now because we have you here. We're obviously trying to figure out this live show and grow this and do a better job where we can every week. And that kind of got me thinking, we made a bunch of mistakes when we're starting out. We're still making a bunch of mistakes now. What are the biggest mistakes that a creator or a publisher, a media brand operator coming to a live show is going to make when they start out?
I would say one big mistake is calling out mistakes, and or rather if maybe there's a technical wipe that doesn't look a certain way, or or there's like a super awkward pause for a long time. Calling out and calling so much attention to little things when you can just keep the ball rolling and you know, and you guys are good. You crack jokes, you make fun of yourselves, you move on. I think a lot of people sometimes harp on mistakes and let it get into their head. This is a very casual medium, and you need to sort of approach it that way and not take it overly seriously. And also, we have a rundown, right? You guys know several hours prior to this show, you have a list of topics that you want to hit. You have guests that you want to go to. I think flexibility is one of the best assets that you have. And so being willing to call an audible halfway through the show and be like, wait. Like, we had a show that was going on, the TBPN deal broke in the middle of the show. So the rest of the show was about that. One of the values of live is breaking news, leaning into breaking news, whether it pertains to your show or not. So if Beehive gets sold while we're on the air, the rest of the show is about Beehive. And then you should be slacking me, Taylor, can we go an hour longer? Because this is insane and we should be the voices of authority on it. So I would say that's the biggest mistake, being too rigid and harping on mistakes a little bit too much.
Okay, well, what's our biggest mistake? I know you guys probably have a list.
Other than choosing
how much
Tyler
time
as a
do we
co-host.
have? No. You guys are. I think you guys do a great job of identifying the clips and everything that you want clipped out of a particular show. I think that I would love to see comments and more interaction during the live show. So I think that we can start working on ways to foster that and to like bring that into the live show more. But Letterland is literally a brand new product. Like, you guys started this from zero. You already have hundreds of LinkedIn followers. You have all these X followers and all of your personal followers as well that are cheering you guys on. This is a very new enterprise, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I think there's going to be a lot of interactivity. There's going to be a community that builds around it. This is the voice of authority. Like huge guess. That's Dan the Panthers fan chiming in, Supervisor Dan. Bringing live comments like this is from YouTube, and you can see that little icon. You could see, a default photo. Bringing that in is going to be it's going to unlock an entire other angle to this show that I'm really excited for. And that just comes with time. That's, when my mom knows how to comment on live streams, then we are in a totally new space. Like there are so few people that are comfortable at this moment typing something out, having it pop up on screen. But I will tell you, my mom has been shouted out on Peloton twice in 8 years and won't stop talking about it. There's something about being called out. Dan is sitting at home right now and he's grinning ear to ear because I just called out his name. He feels special. He's a part of this show. And having that loyalty built up in your audience it's invaluable. And I can't wait for you guys to see how that plays out.
I love that. That's super cool. I love the compliment sandwich there as well. That was so excellently delivered. Like,
Yeah,
I feel
that was so good.
So bodled. That was
You must
amazing.
be media trained.
Yeah. I mean, what I want to get into as a sort of a closing thing is around newsletters. Obviously, you have been getting more and more into newsletters, and I think that's how you originally met Tyler as well, as like thinking about that space. I heard that you do read a bunch of them, so let's give some shout outs. What are the top 3 newsletters that are in your inbox right now?
Top 3, definitely The Rundown from Public. Michael Teisch and the editorial team over there do an incredible job at that, as Zaid Admani as well. So I read that as well just to get caught up on investing news. Ever since I left CNBC, I don't read any news. I just read that just because I'm like kind of out of the news cycle a bit. The other one, Tyler, we actually met, I don't know if you remember, a long time ago at an event, and I heard about that event through Next Stop IRL by Sarah Collado. And that is basically over a 2-week period, she sends out all the in-person NYC events that, whether you're a marketer, whether you're a founder, a CEO, I just found that so useful because I can't go around looking for different events that are happening in the city. I just sort of pull up that email. I'm like, that looks cool. That looks cool. That looks cool. And order some business cards and show up. So shout out to Sarah for that one. Really, really love just having that all there for me, like a menu. And And Letterland Live would probably have to be my my top 3 right there.
Yeah. Of course. We were waiting. We don't let you go as a guest until you say that. So
That's right.
we can release you now. But before we do, before we have the 2 producers for that, right? That's the main job, is to get you into the chair and keep you there.
That's right. I'm getting named that.
But before we do let you go, I mean, we obviously are super happy with how it's going with Launch Live now, and we would love if people are thinking about doing this. Like I'm sure Tyler would say the same thing. Like 10 out of 10, can't stop recommending it enough, telling people about it all the time. And you guys are amazing to work with and have made it super easy. Where can people go find out more about like what it takes to do this, and would potentially work with you guys and figure it out? Where's the best place to go?
Thank you, man. Yeah, no, it's been an absolute pleasure launching Letterland Live. Yeah, launchlivenow.com. Hop on there. You can find a little link right there. Meet with me. You'll get a 30-minute meeting totally for free. Most people have to pay for that. No, 30-minute meeting. Let's talk about your idea. If you want to launch a live show, I want to hear about it. My whole background is building TV shows. So I want to do this on a level on your social accounts. Tell me your idea. Let's build it together, and screw it. We can launch it within a few weeks. So if you're serious about leveling up your content, if you're already paying for a podcast producer and all that, you can get all of that and more in a live show. Let's just pick a time during the week and do it.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we obviously recommend that. It was amazing. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us, man. We will obviously, we're going to talk to you in a couple of minutes, but we're going to get back into the browser history, right, Tyler?
Literally anytime. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring it back to newsletters.
That was uncomfortable, right? Being so far away, like live shows and stuff. It's not what people are here for. Let's give them the red meat for the base.
I know. So we got Stripe, the payment startup you've probably heard about. They've raised a ton of money. They apparently are publishing book reviews and articles about things like the city of Alberta. Is Alberta a city? I don't know. Alberta, Canada, eradicating rats. So this is interesting. It was a LinkedIn post by Casey Hill. He dug into Stripe's website and found this library of book reviews and a blog called Works in Progress. And they are basically writing about everything except payments, which is kind of interesting, right? So his argument here is that the super relevant media grows, or excuse me, widely relevant media grows dramatically faster than product category content, right? Yeah. So what he's saying is that having like 2,000 subscribers reading about payment infrastructure, or would you rather have 500,000 of them reading about innovation and then 50,000 of them are in your ICP? Of course, the haters were out in full force. They were saying that, others have tried this. I think G2 tried it, and most of the traffic wasn't relevant. They ended up shutting it down. And then somebody actually in the comments brought up a really good point about like, is this actually diluting, SEO and LLM citations? So that's a whole other argument. So Louis, what do you think about a company like Stripe, payment tech company, writing about stuff that is totally irrelevant or seemingly irrelevant to their product?
Yeah, I mean, I would be very surprised if it became an issue on the LLM side of things. I think they must have figured that out because of the social platforms, right? Like there are a bunch of places, whether that's Reddit, LinkedIn, Twitter, like it's not like people are, if you search for like something related to like why you should pay for LinkedIn, that it becomes more difficult, like for SEO, for LLMs to figure out, that LinkedIn is the best or the biggest professional network, just because a lot of people on LinkedIn are talking about other stuff, and that all gets indexed as part of LinkedIn, right? Like, I think they're smart enough for that, so I don't worry about that at all. I don't know. This is one of those things, right? Like you get that pendulum that swings back and forth every couple of years, and people try it and people go, "Oh, this is genius. No, this is stupid." The one thing I will say about this is I think G2 and like that era, and you saw this, and I'm not going to name names, I'm going to be kind, but SEO did massively mess up the incentives to the point where it made sense to have like random affiliate deals on your site because you had a high authority, like high ranking domain, right? We
Yeah.
saw that a lot. We saw people publishing stuff because it got them impressions that at some point could lead to click-throughs that made no sense, right? I think what it seems like Stripe is doing here is more a version, it's like a mix between what Red Bull, I think, did like 20, 25 years ago. So it's nothing new in that sense. And it's kind of similar to what HubSpot is doing with Starter Story, right? Is to go, okay, the kind of people we think are going to buy our product 5 to 10 years from now, what do they care about today that is really interesting that we can like show up and have really good brand resonance and provide them with value and just be there day after day after day? Because I have created a Stripe account. Everybody who starts a business creates this, pretty much everybody creates a Stripe account at some point, or they will need something like Stripe. But there's only one very specific day that you need it. You can't make someone want to create one, right? You can't create demand. You have to wait and be there and be the one that they think of on the one specific day in a 10-year period where they need it. And I think that is what Stripe is doing here, taking a page out of the HubSpot playbook, which is the exact same thing with a CRM. Which is to say, okay, our ideal audience, what do they care about? Oh, they care about these interesting things and these things. And Stripe actually bought a very similar company to Starter Story that was bought by HubSpot recently. They bought a media company called indiehackers.com, but that was about 5 or 6 years ago. Very, very similar, actually. Pat, who started Starter Story, got a lot of his inspiration from Indie Hackers and thinking that he could do things in a slightly different way from how Cortland was running it. Both really cool people. And so, yeah, I think it's smart. I think it's going to be really, really valuable and more important in the world that we're in today, which is where you're not going to get a second chance at getting those readers to come through to your site for free anymore, because LLMs are not going to be sending people through. People aren't going to be clicking through for free. There's no need to anymore. And SEO is dying. So, hey, it's a land grab. Get those people who might be interested in your stuff onto your email list right now, because then in 20 years' time, when they want to buy your stuff, you already have them for free. The only question is, how can I give them something really interesting every day or every week from now until then, so that they still remember me 10, 15, 20 years from now? Kind of like banks, I guess, right?
Yeah. And I don't think the content, right? I think we saw like How Did Amsterdam start the first fire department. I think this is, it might seem like there's not really a connection between that and payments, but I think there's a connection between that and like smart people, entrepreneurs. Like this is the kind of stuff that, Silicon Valley, like these kind of people like to read, right? So it's like, it's interesting enough content, right? It's almost kind of like the like David Senra type stuff, right? Like he's reading biographies and and summarizing them for you, right? It may not make perfect sense like why you would read a biography about Napoleon and then Ramp would advertise in it, but like it does make sense because those are the sort of people who want to read about this and get smarter. So I think it's interesting. I agree with you. It's like build that 500,000 person, million person list, and then you can kind of figure out what to do with them. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't recommend this for most people in this world, but it's a side quest that you can take on when you've raised $9.8 billion.
Yeah. And I think even now, I'm going to be honest with you, like if you are a creator and you are thinking, okay, I want to start a newsletter and a business helping people start newsletters, right? If that's the thing you want to do, you want to do like a done for you service, or you want to do a course or an accelerator or something. What most people do that I think is wrong is they will go out and go, okay, I need to start a newsletter and a YouTube channel on how to start a newsletter. And yet you'll get some people who are already like problem aware and interested who will come through. But if you want to get a lot of people to buy your product or service on how to start a newsletter, what you want to do is go up funnel and go how to find really awesome, easy, free business ideas that can make you $1,000 a day from home, right? Because the audience for that on YouTube and other places is like 100 to 1,000 times bigger than the audience of people who are looking for like how to start a newsletter, and no one else is pitching them because no one else has figured this out, right? So you have way more of a chance to get those people in onto your newsletter. You give them the ideas. One of those is about newsletters. Oh, by the way, I can help you do this. You make way more money doing it that way. So I think everybody, not everybody, but I think there are a lot of people, even as beginners, who should be thinking a little bit about this of like, okay, what is the one step higher, like the group of people who I can get in who might be interested in this in the future when I tell them about it, essentially. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about let's talk about Substack again, because I think we managed to go almost a whole episode without talking about them, right? That's
Oh,
kind of
we're going to
crazy.
talk about them a lot right now.
We are, because they are making a new key hire. They're hiring a product manager specifically to help new creators. We definitely shouldn't say newsletters in the context of Substack, to get early traction. And so I was looking at the job listing, basically says, look, creators are arriving at Substack with higher expectations and more alternatives than ever. We get to do our second alert of the day. We get to mention her, the Sultan of Substack, Emily Sundberg. And she's saying, okay, look, it's still unclear who gets chosen for Substack brand deals. Meanwhile, Beehive's ad marketplace lets publishers browse campaigns and apply through a standardized system. What's your take on this, Tyler? Is this a warning sign for Substack? Is this them realizing that they have an issue around uptake on the sponsorship side? What's going on?
To me, this reads like a job description for a concierge, right? So I think we all kind of understand Substack's business model is built around the I guess is number two, the Emily Sundbergs of the world, right? There's a lot of money floating around at the top with all these people who have a bunch of subscribers, and Substack is taking 10% of them, or 10% of it. So those are the people that matter. And so I think Substack is incentivized to bring those people over from wherever they are, whatever they're doing, and help them succeed on the platform as soon as possible. And now I think it also matters because they are building out the partnerships or ads or whatever we actually want to call them, which, as Emily points out, it's still a little unclear who those are going to be for. But I think you can read between the lines a little bit, that it's probably going to, go to the most successful Substackers and the biggest Substackers. So basically the people who are already winning on the platform are going to win some more. They're going to be getting some of that Balenciaga money. So where I stand on this, quite frankly, is like for 99.9% of us reading this, and most Substackers, it probably doesn't matter all that much, because I think at the end of the day, they are trying to do what makes them money, which is serve the big boys.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there. I think if I were the kind of person who were trying to build a Substack today, a lot of what I would be doing would be to be figuring out, okay, how do I become the kind of person that Creator Kit and the stuff that they are doing on the sponsorship side is built for? Because when I look at the alternatives between sponsorships and the ad network that Beehive has, for example, right? Almost anybody can get access to the ad network. But I mean, the payouts are brutal. And that's not a Beehive issue. It's the same with almost any newsletter ad network. Like,
Right.
You can have 50,000 opens, 200-300 clicks, and make $20-$30 from that ad. Because the whole point of those ad networks is we're paying just for performance. We do not care at all about who that newsletter is that's running the ad, as long as there's someone potentially writing it with the assistance of AI and ideally someone reading it. That's all they care about, right? You are completely anonymized. You are just a number to them, right? It's like being like Google AdSense, effectively, from the point of view of a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas what Substack's doing with the sponsorship side of things is they're saying, okay, hang on, we want to see the Creator Kit because we care about who is actually doing we care about who we're sponsoring, because we are sponsoring them. We're sponsoring the person. We're not doing it for the performance, right? We want the relationship. We want to get in front of this person's audience in a way that shows that this person, this creator, cares about us. And I think if you want to be making money from sponsorships and ad networks within over the next 5 years, you are really probably going to have to lean in either very heavily to affiliate and performance marketing, like real performance, or you're going to have to lean into sponsorships. And right now, to me, sponsorship seems like the safer bet, especially if you're a creator rather than a media brand, right? Like if you are a creator, you can always still do the performance stuff, but a lot of people, because they don't have that relationship and that profile, can never lean into the sponsorship stuff, which is where a lot of the real money is to be made. So I don't think you need the huge audience. I think you just have to be building the kind of profile and public relationships and stuff that make you that kind of person that brands want to pay extra to be associated with, essentially.
I I could see that, but I guess it doesn't change the fact that I don't think that this product manager actually cares about you unless you hit a certain size, right?
Yeah, I guess for now, probably. I mean, I think they will stay, like, it will get smaller and smaller, I think, over time. But yeah, obviously for now. But I think it's important because, like, if we think about other Substack news this week, right? We had Olivia Wickstrom, who is on Substack, basically calling their bluff on Substack's math, which was interesting because we had Beehive's report a couple of weeks ago, and Olivia's basically saying, look, hey, if you have 1,000 paid subscribers paying you $5 a month, that's $60,000 a year, which is a nice side income. But let's face it, if you're based in most of the US, probably not something that's going to replace your real job, right?
Right.
And I know Substack, they started with the 10% of free convert to paid. They've brought that down to more of like a 2 to 5% of readers now, which is a little bit
Which is
more realistic.
still
Yeah.
pretty generous, let's be honest.
It
I
is,
think
it
that
is,
number is
yeah.
probably like decreasing. Is something I think like Matt McGarry pointed out, right? Is like that's even close. That gap is closing too, right? Where like what people are paying for, like what they're willing to kind of splurge on. I would say that's probably closer to like 1 to 2% for most people.
Yeah. I think so for sure. I think that's like aspirational, is the 2 to 5%. But she's basically saying, look, hey, we need stuff like sponsorships and other things to be coming online, because right now, just making a full-time living off paid subscriptions is super, super difficult if you have a paid newsletter. And I think that's true. There are very few of them. Tyler, when were you able to make the transition to going full-time on the Watercolor list?
Yeah, I thought this is an interesting article because she kind of took us like one angle. I thought she was kind of hating on Substack a little bit, and then she like worked it out to be like, when you're actually ready to make the jump. So she brought up some good points about like, how much you should be making, making sure that you're not getting kind of like lumpy months, right? She basically said like, don't leave your full-time job for Substack just because you had one really good month. And I think it's a good point because you have to think about things like churn. But yeah, I mean, deciding to leave my full-time consulting job, which, is making six figures and, it was a good living. It was not an easy decision. Basically I got to the point where, I was able to pay myself maybe I would say like 3/4 of what I was getting paid. And luckily my company kind of gave me an ultimatum, which I think pushed me over the edge because I had gone part-time for a little while. And they had no idea what I was doing. They didn't know I was trying to like run this other business, but I'd gone part-time. And at the end of the year, they basically came to me and said, hey, Tyler, it's either, go full-time or you got to leave. And I said, okay, I'm going to leave. So, I was basically able to, I wouldn't say guarantee, but, we were making enough money from the water coolest where I was making like 3/4 of my salary, and I felt pretty comfortable. I think that math changes a lot today. Like if we were 100% ad supported at the time, still basically are. I don't think I would feel as comfortable in today's market, right? Like dollars were flowing a lot better. I would probably say, I want to be making half of that from, subscribers or consulting or something else, and half of it from ads. Like I would not want to just rely on ads because as we saw as I lived through with COVID, right? Like that just can dry up overnight or a war breaks out or something crazy happens. So I would say diversification is the key here.
Yeah, I can't see myself ever being able to justify it to myself to build a newsletter that is just purely sponsorships or ads based. Like I can't imagine the time it would take to get to that point. Like you'd have to have, unless you have like some amazing idea and like backers and like a whole plan of like exactly what you're going to do there. But like just starting out from scratch with a newsletter for the first time and aiming for that feels like a recipe for not just failure, which is fine. Like I failed a bunch of times with different businesses, but if you're going to fail, you want to fail quickly. You don't want to spend 2 years writing every day to find out that actually it's not going to work out. That's the worst part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing it for close to 3 years while I was still working. I was writing a daily newsletter and working like a consulting job where, it was 10 to 12 hour days. So it was definitely definitely a grind. But how did you know when you were ready to leave and go Sparkloop full time, or did you raise money? I actually don't even know the story.
Yeah, no, we didn't. We it was a side project essentially for a year until it made enough to support both of us as co-founders. And what let me do that was actually running a newsletter that didn't start as a newsletter. It started as me
Mm,
running like a cohort based course teaching people how to do sales essentially, which was just a way easier way to start a newsletter because you effectively start at $10,000 or $15,000 a month in revenue, and
right.
the downside is it gets super, super addictive because you can quite quickly, and you don't have to be very smart, you can quite quickly get to a place where you are making, 20, 30, $40,000 a month, but you have to do it full time and it's completely unscalable. And you get sort of addicted to it. And it can be really tricky at some point to go, actually, no, I'm going to stop this thing that's making me this amount of money and go and work on this other thing that's making me $2,000 a month. And I have to do it full time because at
Right.
some point that's going to allow me to not sort of to break through that ceiling of about $30,000 a month. So it was worth it in the end, probably, but yeah, those ones are super difficult.
Yeah, that's TBD. We'll figure it out when the day is done. All right, the last
Yeah.
story of the day. A large financial publisher told our buddy Nathan May the number one metric they use to scale or kill a meta ad is not cost per lead. Any guesses what it is, Louis? And
Or
don't
not
look at the
cost per
rundown.
lead. Tell me. What's he saying?
All right, so they are measuring 30-day eco sales ROI, which has nothing to do with like saving the rainforest. When I first read that, I was like, "What is that?" So basically, what this is did the subscriber generate revenue anywhere in the ecosystem within 30 days? So this includes the initial product, upsells, cross sells, downstream purchases. Every sort of email and text you're going to get from a financial publisher. And I'm sure we could probably guess who this is, but Nathan's point here is a good one. Is that you can be buying dollar leads on Meta that never actually buy anything, and $4 leads that you're getting on Meta or elsewhere might be driving all your revenue. And the smart thing to be doing is buying as many of those $4 leads as you possibly can. If you're just optimizing for CPL, you may just be building the wrong audience. And I think this is a really interesting take. How do you think about this, Louis? What do you think about the 30-day eco sales ROI?
Yeah, it's I love when we get to talk about FinPub, like financial publishing newsletters, because they are so on the ball and so aggressive in monetizing.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I will say is like a word of caution is like this I don't think is necessarily replicable to like every newsletter. A lot don't have multiple revenue streams, especially if they're early. They're not sending 10, 12 emails on the first day and then sending daily emails and SMS and stuff like that in the first month.
Right.
I think there are quite a few newsletters out there where you don't make any money in the first 30 days because what you're trying to do is to sell them on some super expensive service and only 1% are going to buy, but they pay you $5,000-$6,000 6 months in, and that
Yep.
newsletter is an incredibly successful newsletter. There are a bunch out there like that do really well. I think what they have in common is
But I think Nathan May's own email is like that, right? Like he claims, he has 1,000-person email, but then he upsells them on his product, and he's selling that for probably a customer lifetime value in the tens of thousands, right? So he's a perfect example.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have two things that it boils down to, right? Which is number one, how can you be confident early whether the subscribers you're acquiring, especially if you're paying for them, are going to turn into value at some point, right?
Mhm.
Which is obviously where it's really useful to be able to have a purchase come in. But you can look at other metrics as well. And then the other thing is just payback period, right? If it takes you 6 months to make back that money, that's kind of an issue cash flow wise. If you can make it back in 7 seconds, that's absolutely amazing. You can scale for free essentially. So you want to be as short there as possible. So yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, you can scale with something like I don't know, Sparkloop. I
Here's
agree.
pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing here is like you need to work backwards and see kind of what your goal is. And this is something that I point out to every consulting client is like, what's your goal? Is it just awareness? Is it conversions? Is it making money back in the first 30 days, and build everything around that. But guys, that is all we have for today. Taylor is telling us that we are done. We didn't pay for the extra hour, so we do need to get going. But we appreciate you guys joining us in Letterland Live today. You should go check out our newsletter, the Letterland Brief. Comes out daily at 7:21 a.m. Eastern Time. You can sign up for it for free at letterland.live. We will see you guys all next week.
See you.